to the Earth around 80 million years ago. Extraordinary.
Little did it think its footprints would be discovered in 2016.
And that's a look at the main stories. It's just coming up to 12 minutes past 7. You are watching BBC Breakfast. We'll have a forecast for you in about 5 minutes.
Let's return to our main story now. And there is uncertainty this morning, even though we thought we'd have some answers, didn't we? But uncertainty over the future of the first nuclear power station that's going to be built, or is it, in the UK for decades.
The Hinkley Point project in Somerset was approved by the French energy giant EDF last night, but now the government says it won't decide whether to back the plan until the autumn. Well, Ben is at Hinkley for us this morning. It's an unexpected twist, isn't it? Morning, Ben.
Yeah, morning guys, welcome to Hinkley Point. And looking at these pictures, you might think that work is already underway, and to a certain extent it is, because I just want to show you around the site here, because this is the site of Hinkley Point C, or what will become Hinkley Point C. And you can see all of these trucks and diggers that are on the site doing all the preparation work for this place. But as you said, a spanner in the works last night when the government said it would review that decision and probably put it off until the autumn when it would make a final assessment. And just to give you an idea of where we are, you can see the two blue buildings behind me. That's Hinkley Point A, that's the old site that's been decommissioned, no longer working. And to the right, the white building, that's Hinkley Point B. That'll be decommissioned in 2023. So clearly there's a need to get a new power station up and running, one that will provide electricity for the country. So how do the numbers stack up? Well, it's interesting. When we talk about the cost of this place, it is a staggering amount of money. £18 billion is what it's thought it could cost to build this new nuclear power station. But some estimates suggest the cost could be even higher, up to about £37 billion. But even at that lower end of the scale, that 18 billion would still make it the most expensive nuclear project ever built. So that's clearly cause for concern. It was originally due to open next year, but now the latest timetable suggests it could be 2025 until it's up and running. But when it is, it would provide about 7% of the UK's electricity needs, and so therefore it is a crucial project. And people are saying, look, if it's not going to go ahead, the government needs to start thinking of alternatives. But one of the reasons it's been mired in controversy is about the amount of money that the government's guaranteed to pay EDF, the French energy giant, for the electricity that the site produces. They've promised £92.50 for every megawatt hour. Now, they agreed that price when the wholesale cost of energy was much higher. That's now fallen, so there's question marks over whether we as energy consumers would end up footing the cost through higher energy bills that we'd pay at home. But one of the reasons it's so controversial in this local area is that it's hoped it would provide 25,000 jobs, both here on the site in jobs like this in the construction and the running of the plant and the factory, but also in the supply chain, all of the businesses around this part of Somerset that would benefit as a result. And so, as we said, a spanner in the works last night, a delay until the autumn. But I've been speaking to the local Chamber of Commerce this morning. They say, look, we've waited several years already. A few more months won't make a huge amount of difference. But nonetheless, uncertain times for this place and whether this plant at Hinkley Point will still be built.
Yes, Ben, thank you very much. We're going to explore some of those thoughts now. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, joining us in the studio on the sofa is Richard Black, who's the Director of Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, and Professor Francis Livens, who's the Director of the Dalton Nuclear Institute at Manchester University. Thank you both for coming in. I think when we booked you, we thought we were going to be sitting here talking about the decision, and finally we knew which way it was going, but we still don't know.
No, absolutely. It was a real surprise to everyone. The news started emerging late yesterday after the EDF board had made its decision. And it's quite interesting to speculate why this is. I mean, the government says simply it's a new government. It wants to look at this again, go over all the figures. But there could be other factors behind it as well. But I think the main factor that's probably exercising minds is simply the enormous price. In a post-Brexit world where one of the reasons why we left the EU was people were concerned about the amount of money that's being transferred to Europe every year. Here's a deal which would probably result in about £1 billion per year going from the UK via energy bills to the French government. I mean, EDF is owned by 85% by the French government. And does this look like a good idea? Also, energy systems are changing fast. The National Infrastructure Commission, the departing head of National Grid, the head of China's National Grid, within the last year have said, actually, the old sort of mode where you have these huge power stations churning out electricity all the time, that's changing. The future lies in smart, flexible systems where demand is managed as much as supply, and so on and so on and so forth. So the government would be looking also, I think, at what some experts are saying, that this is a bit of an out of date.
So, I mean, it throws it into all sorts of confusion, presumably, Professor. Are you broadly in favour, though, of it going ahead, are you?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Why?
Because I think it has an important part to play in the future energy mix. I think renewables are a big part of it, but increasingly as carbon-based fuels become unacceptable or unaffordable, and particularly if you do something like decide to decarbonise transport, so you move away from petrol and diesel in your cars to electricity and hydrogen, suddenly you need an awful lot more electricity, and I think there is a role for nuclear as a part of providing that supply in the future.
I remember as a reporter standing right there in the pictures where we're seeing at the moment outside at Hinkley saying, a decade ago, saying there is a proposal for this nuclear power station and it would be online about now, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the key question this morning is it going to happen? Richard, what do you think? Would you put your money on it?
I wouldn't put money either way, John, on this one, too.
Even now?
Even now, that's right. I mean, this was supposed to be a final investment decision. As we've seen now, it's not a final decision. There are possibly 3 legal challenges pending in France to this for state aid rules and all sorts of things. EDF is in deep financial trouble. The French unions don't want it at all, and we've got an election coming in France, so no, I wouldn't put money on it at all.
And one of the things they have to consider is about this price, because they've agreed the price, haven't they, at the final point. So is that one of the problems, do you think, that they could be looking at?
It's very difficult to know exactly what's prompted this, but certainly the so-called strike price does look relatively high, and certainly it's high compared with the cost of electricity currently. It's lower than the strike price for some renewables. So
it's a guaranteed price, isn't it, they've agreed to pay?
That's right. Anything like this is big, expensive, complicated, and everyone is going to be very cautious and need to be very certain before they proceed.
And if the British government this autumn decides to walk away, what happens then? Because this is a plant that's due to provide, 7% of the UK's power in a decade or so's time. I mean, where is that going to come from in that timescale?
Well, I think it's that decade that's the key point there, John, because actually if you wanted to build alternatives, renewables, new cables linking us to the continent, for example, or gas-fired power stations, you don't need 10 years to do that. So there is a case where they say, well, we'll leave it for now and we'll make those decisions in 2 or 3 years' time. On the other hand, as John Moylan was pointing out in your report just now, it would send a very mixed signal, because it could be seen as saying that Britain actually isn't quite as open for business as it's been saying it is. Another
just completely sort of removed from all of that, and they keep losing directors as well, EDF. Is that problematic? Not losing them, but that, some of them are leaving.
I guess it's not ideal, but I'm no expert on the corporate workings of EDF. I guess something as big and potentially contentious as this is going to have people taking very strong views and feeling uncomfortable with the direction and doing the honourable thing by walking.
Richard said he's not sure it's going to happen. Do you think it's going to happen, Francis?
I think it's more likely than not, but I'm not convinced I'd bet my pension on it at this point.
Right. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you so much. And we'll be live at Hinkley Point throughout the morning. Ben is there for us this morning.
It's 20 minutes past 7. I think we can see the skies above Hinkley. You kind of wanted to have a big question mark over that site, don't you, at the moment, in the sky, hovering over the plant, because we don't know what's going to happen.
The clouds tell a tale.
They do in a way, don't they? Is that, what's it called, pathetic fallacy?
That's
right. Prophetic fallacy. That's the site at Hinkley. How about the skies across the UK this morning?
John can tell us what it's like.
Well, that's a bit better.
Morning.
Yeah, it looks impressive, doesn't it? A lot of energy coming out of the sun at the moment, that is for sure. But as we've just seen from Hinkley, some of that energy is being blocked by an awful lot of cloud. And although it's bright at the moment in Nottinghamshire, it might not be for all that long, because we've got a lot of cloud coming down from the north, particularly in this zone across northern England, pushing into North Wales. It's a weather front. It's got some rain mixed in with it. A few showers to the south with that, not far from Hinkley Point actually, and everything's heading a little bit further southwards. So this band of showery rain will end up across parts of the Midlands and Wales later on today. Behind that, brighter skies. Ahead of that, some brightness across southern counties, but also quite muggy air, and that could still generate the odd shower actually into the afternoon. If you're going racing at Goodwood, for example, might be a shower up over the Downs. In any brightness, it will feel quite humid again. Yesterday reached 25 degrees as a high. Low 20s, I think, if the sun comes out across the south for any length of time. There's that band of showery rain pushing down through parts of Wales, the Midlands, into East Anglia through this afternoon. This is 4 o'clock. The odd shower behind that, but actually a lot of sunshine across northern England, Northern Ireland, most of Scotland having a fine afternoon. High teens. Some showers, though, across the northwest of Scotland. They'll keep going as we go into tonight on this little weather front here. Now, this frontal band carrying showery rain will head down towards the south, but most of the showers will fade away. Just a line of cloud on that by tomorrow morning. Behind that, where we see clear skies, I think temperatures will get lower than these numbers suggest. In rural spots, we could get down into single figures. That's a sign of things to come, as we'll see in a moment. Now, tomorrow's looking good. I think if you've got plans for the outdoors, I think by and large, you're going to be okay. There will be a few showers around, mostly across the northwest of Scotland, but some elsewhere across these more northwestern areas creeping inland. But as I say, the vast majority of us, I think, will stay dry. We'll have lost the humidity across southern areas, still pleasantly warm though. Low 20s here, high teens across northern areas, and a cool breeze across the far north of Scotland. Now, as I mentioned, overnight it's going to get quite chilly through this weekend. So, for example, Saturday night in some rural areas under clear skies, we could get well down into single figures, 3 to 5 degrees across the glens of Scotland. If you're going camping, take a few layers with you would be my advice. But Sunday is looking good again for most of us. Dry with broken cloud and sunshine. A few showers dotted around. Some of the best of the sunshine probably around the coastal fringe in actual fact. Most of the showers, most of the breeze again across the north of Scotland. So I'm pretty optimistic this weekend. Plenty of sunshine, a few showers. But as I mentioned, watch out for those rather chilly nights.
OK, so take a jumper if you're camping. Was that right?
Absolutely. That's the advice.
I'll remember. Thank you very much.
Have a jumper wherever you're going, whether you're camping or not, I think. 7:23.
Now, this time next week, we'll be gearing up for the opening ceremony of the 2016 Rio Olympics, and Britain's medal hopefuls are already starting to gather in Brazil.
Yeah, Team GB are preparing not in Rio itself, but at a £1.6 million training base, which is more than 200 miles away, designed to make our athletes feel a little bit more at home. Well, our sports correspondent Andy Swiss has been given special access to their facilities. A sneak preview.
It will be the base, they hope, for British glory. This luxurious sports club is normally where the well-heeled of Belo Horizonte head to unwind. But for the next few weeks, they have rather more serious company. Around 200 British athletes across a range of sports are fine-tuning their Olympic preparations here. Among the first arrivals, the table tennis team. Everything from the floors to the lighting to the humidity, aiming to replicate what they'll experience in Rio.
It's great to come out into Brazil a little bit earlier, get used to the timings and the weather as well, and also for us all to become one big team. I think seeing the boxers train yesterday was pretty impressive, and I think they quite enjoyed watching us play table tennis, and yeah, it's all great, and hopefully it'll really help the whole team in the Olympics.
The whole camp has cost more than £1.5 million, but it's bought the best. The swimmers have the only indoor 50-metre pool outside.